computer.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here, Gail. I just wanted to kind of give a little premise of what we are doing here today. So basically what I love history. So I feel like with Broward having 69 years of history in terms of the Women's Council, came up with this concept of, and our little theme over here, building on yesterday, shaping tomorrow, which kind of prompted me and gave me this idea to reach out to past presidents, because I always feel like you need to know where you came from in order to know where you're going. And I just truly appreciate you being here today. Wanted to give you a quick introduction. So you served as the past president for the Women's Council nationally in 2006, but wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of take that further and give more of an explanation of yourself.
Okay, so I pulled out my actual intro that I use when I'm doing classes or speaking or anything, but I'm cutting it down to pretty much all about Women's Council. So, but I thought this would be interesting because you're from Broward. So this is how I start my intros. Hailing from Long Island, Gail Hartnett, that would be me, made her way to Boise in 1987 by way of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I lived in Fort Lauderdale for 15 years. I was not a realtor when I was there. As a matter of fact, I was a Tupperware lady. So I was a cheerleader in high school, a Tupperware lady in Florida, and was licensed as a realtor in 1992. In 1996, I was introduced to the Women's Council, and it was by accident. And I was one of those that, you leave the room and all of a sudden you're the president. And I wasn't I never served any other position on the line because in Idaho at the time, I think there was maybe, oh gosh, I think there was like 12 or 13 members in the entire state, and Boise had about 8 of them. And I imagine that. So I actually said no to when they asked me to be the president in 1996. I said no. And anybody that knows me, I don't say no to very many things. I say yes to the things I love and adore. And, and I didn't know that I loved and adored this, but I found out really quick. After I was actually moving up the line in my local association. After I had thought about it a little bit, I remembered a gal that lived on the other side of the state that told me that Women's Council was awesome. And I was like, kind of wasn't, not where I lived. And I thought, all right, but there must be something more if somebody said that it was awesome. So long story short, became the president. And then they told me, by the way, you're the state president too. You guys in Florida will laugh at that because I know you're such a fine-tuned, machine. And you always, well, I say you always have been. You're into history. Maybe you weren't, but I knew it as that. So kind of skipping forward, on my own dime, I went to the mid-year meetings, which is my favorite meetings in the world. And I think to everybody that's here, the very first Women's Council national meeting that you go to is probably the one that's your very favorite. And it's because it's like your eyes are opened. It's like, oh my gosh, what did I get into? Anyway, long story short, I was on the fast track to becoming the president. Little did I know that, but that's just how it happened. So I was served on lots of committees. Right now, I'm actually a director. I've been a national director for the National Association. I've kind of moved my focus over to the National Association. And I guess I'm just going to tell you one thing that I'm really proud of. In 2021, I was honored by the National Association as a DSA, which is the Distinguished Service Award that the National Association gives to 2 out of the 1.6 million realtors. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, by the way, I'm the mother of this year's national president of the Women's Council, Kerri Hartnett, and that's a first time a mother-daughter. So
And, I was kind of remiss in saying this in the beginning, wanted to kind of give that segue over as well, but this is actually the first episode, I guess you would say, of this. So the irony that, you are the mom of our, current national president and served as a past president, is so exciting and gives so much more depth of scope, so to speak. But where on Long Island are you from originally?
I'm at New Hyde Park.
Oh, okay, because I was born in Queens but raised
Okay.
East Islip. I went to East Islip High School before moving.
Okay. Well, we lived out in South Hopog
Oh, okay.
after I was married. Okay. So yeah, but I lived there until we moved to Fort Lauderdale, and oh gosh, Kerri was born in Fort Lauderdale, by
Right,
the
at
way.
Holy Cross Hospital, my
At
second
Holy
born.
Cross
Right,
Hospital.
right. I
That's
remember you telling me
exactly
this, and
right.
my second born was born there. So just all these like just crazy
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
kind of similarities, which is so exciting. So
Yeah. Yeah.
from a national scope, what would you say were some of the major contributions that you gave to the organization during your tenure?
Well, major contributions. We did a lot, and this is history, by the way, which I have really realized that not everybody understands or knew that it took until 2006 for us to put the word woman into our mission statement. And that was something that we made happen. And it had been started, many times. But funny thing about us women, we tend to protect our men, and we were kind of afraid, that we might lose something if we put women in. Well, it was our mission, as we did our the strat planning for that was one of the cycles for it, and we did it. We got the word women into our mission statement finally. So I kind of think that's a great thing that we
That
did. So
that's very exciting. So what was the mission statement previously then?
oh gosh, I didn't pull it out, but it was everything, but it didn't say it probably said, I don't even know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, I just wanted
I didn't go back. I should have. That would have been a good thing to go back to it. And we can get back into that. Yeah.
absolutely. I will add it in, kind of when I post this, I'll make sure to add that part in. Okay, so we wanted to talk about a little bit about, so we're obviously leadership, the hashtag now for or has been now for several years is women leaders made here for Women's Council. So leadership is a huge, kind of focus in the scope. So how would you describe your personal leadership style, and how do you think it differed maybe from some of your predecessors and some of the people as you were coming up the line?
So let me just share with you that as I moved up into leadership, I know this from past things that I've done, that we all have strengths. Each and every one of us has our own strength. My style, I think, would have to be servant leadership or team leadership, for the two types that I think are very, very, very strong with. But I have to share with you, each and every member of whatever line you're on has something to offer, and they're not, and leaders do not have to be the same. And I learned that when I was selling Tupperware, as a matter of fact, because there was a gal, actually she was from South Miami, who was a top producer as I was. And this gal was just, I mean, I couldn't even see myself like her. But she said to me, and the two of us kind of became friends. And I thought, what do I have to offer this woman? I mean, she's just got it all, And she said to me, and I guess it was my ability to recruit, which obviously is my ability uh, to engage with people, perhaps even more so than she was. She was more into numbers and, and certain things that we do. We know that by the personality types that each and every one of us are. My national line, I don't know if you all, or you should remember Betty Kincaid. She was the year ahead of me. Betty was brilliant. Gail is not brilliant when it comes to numbers. And I was fearful, actually, want you to know, because that's not my strength. So, but yet it works. We're here to support each other. So, but I'm all about the members, which others are too. But I was sincerely and, always about, bringing other people up and praising them. And it was about everyone else. So I guess that's my style. But yet we need every other member on our team, and we all bring something awesome to make the dream team, as Brenda
Right.
Gabati would say, by the
Right.
way.
I,
So,
I kind of feel like that's where when you have a table of different types of personalities, everyone thinks in a different way. That's where I always say the magic happens, because you have the ability to kind of just brainstorm, and then you never know where that can kind of take you and what kind of rabbit hole, in a good way, that
yes.
can lead you as well. So also moving into the next question. So we know that Women's Council is very different than dealing with a local realtor association in terms of, you don't have staff liaisons, you don't have people that kind of make you look good and shine. You do all the work, you make it happen. Similar to when I was a Girl Scout leader, if we didn't make it happen, then it didn't happen. So but I do feel that pushing yourself during those times of like struggle, or times of kind of compromise, that's where the leadership skills really come into play. So having said all that, what types of challenges did you face during your presidency? Could you address these challenges and to us now, and then how did you address them when to your membership?
So I'm gonna put a twist on this,
Okay.
because listening to you, it brought me back to what my Women's Council leadership did for me when I was my local president. And because I think the biggest challenge of my entire life was when I was the president of my local association. And I called out my Women's Council members for advice. I mean, that's what I did, because I knew that, I would get advice. And it was 1999, and we had changed from DOS to Windows. Okay. Big deal.
Big, huge.
And I mean, the troops were they were just rebelling against the fact that we were now gonna go to computers, yeah, and no more book. Oh my gosh. But anyway, as I said, these were challenges that were they they kind of they made me the person that I am. But I remember reaching out to Maxine Jennings, who was the 2000, I think, National Women's Council president. She was from California. And because I knew she had been on city council, in her town, Dublin, California. And I just asked her, because I knew I was having a meeting that was, that all you have to do to get people to come to a board, not a board meeting, but a membership meeting, is to have something controversial. That's all you need. And she gave me advice that I put into play, and nobody else had, ever done this. I mean, I had a court reporter there. I had a parliamentarian. I just made certain that, and these are all things that we as Women's Council, if you've gone to any of our national meetings, possibly your state meetings too, we have people in place to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Mhm.
And this was something I learned from the Women's Council, and I brought it forth. And oh my gosh, anyway, we made things happen, but that was a huge challenge. Now, as the national president, I guess the biggest challenge was, in fact, winning over the board of directors to change to put women in our mission statement. But we did it. If you want to know how we did it, I'll give you that. But if I'm talking too much, just
No, keep going.
all right. So with that, we had our executive committee meeting, and we had to make certain that our members understood that we had all the same questions as they have. We had all the same concerns. And any of you that have ever been on a strat planning committee, you know that you're in the room, as you said before, you're throwing ideas around, and and that's what was happening. But we had to make certain that and not just the governing board who was voting, but the members understood why, where, how, we could do this. And the reason I really say that is because we have, as I always say, we have 10% of the smartest men in the world, because they are with us, and they're bringing great things to the table. Well, so what we did at our meeting was we brainstormed and we said, okay, we need to reach the next level, which was going to be the governing board. So what we did was we had a governing board, what would you call it, a reception. Well, first we had in the afternoon, we had a brainstorming where they could ask questions and so on. And so we created that so that every feeling that anybody had, we gave them the permission to let it out. But then at night, we had a reception. We had a little beer and a little wine, and we just made it very informal, but it was with, it was with the governing board, so that they could ask questions of us, the line officers, all of us, about what was going on. We did as many steps, I'm probably missing some, but those were the major ones, the steps that we took to get the vote. The next morning at the governing board meeting, it was so cute, we have a parliamentarian at that, and they sit with us and give us we kind of go through it to make troubleshoot, to see if this happens, what are we going to do, and blah, blah, blah. Well, I stood up there, we put forth the recommendation, and I just looked around the room with great confidence because I believed that it was good, number one, and that we were going to make it happen. But I looked around that entire room. I didn't go straight for the, for the vote. And there was some of the presidents in the front, past presidents were looking at me, go, Gail, ask for the vote, ask for the, and I just was so confident, and it passed with not with no no's, all yays. So,
Oh, wow. That's
yeah,
exciting.
it was very exciting. It
Yeah,
really was.
especially, I mean, I kind of think that knowledge is power. So I think that having that ability for people to ask questions, be heard, address concerns was probably really kind of what kind of catapulted you, and really such a smart way of going about it in that regard. Well, since you accomplished so much during that year, it seems like in a positive direction that's obviously impacting the council still till today. At the time, did you have a vision of the future for the council? Was it putting women into, the mission statement? Was there anything else? I mean, how you saw that play out and how it kind of influences today's programs, policies, priorities, anything of that nature?
You're going to love this. So we got that one done. So we figured, oh, let's go for the gusto. Let's go. Because we always, all of us, we're always coming up with ideas. And I have to tell you something, and I think you all know this, but we are the leaders. We are the pacemakers. We set the pace for what happens at NAR. And I don't know if any of you have ever noticed, but I mean, we had Leadership Academy before NAR had Leadership Academy. There's a lot of things, but I'll go on to what you asked. We then decided, and so the one issue, we then decided that we wanted to we had 9 regions at the time, and we decided that we needed to break it into 3 regions. So I should be hitting a few little, strings here.
Mm-hmm.
And it took that long, by the way, for this to happen. And that's another thing we have to understand is, and the same thing with the name. That had been put forth several times that I was in, and
Yeah.
maybe even before that, I don't know. But things don't happen immediately, but baby steps, and we make things happen when we have good ideas and things that we know are going to happen. So yes, that was something that we worked very hard on, what it would look like and why, the reason that we were doing it. And lo and behold, it didn't go anywhere. And you know why? Because we don't want to give up our jobs. There was
True.
9 RVPs, 9 regional vice presidents, and that meant that we were going to be down to 3. So
Hmm.
6 people were not going to have a job,
Right.
and that's just it's just hard. It's
Yeah.
just a difficult thing.
Change can
So
be very difficult,
yes,
and yeah,
yeah,
and I can understand it. So do you
yeah.
know how many more years until it came into play?
It actually happened, exactly. Well, when did it come into play? Whenever Sylvia Sebald was the president, I
Okay.
think, because I just asked that of somebody, because I was like, when did that happen? Um,
2022.
okay, so it took that. So from 2000, well, we approached it in 2006. It was actually 2007 that it went in front of the board, Judy Moses, and it didn't go anywhere. So, and they even tried the same techniques that we had tried that were successful, bringing it to
Hmm.
everybody, but it just took that long
Yeah.
to happen. So,
Well, but it did happen, so
mhm.
that's a positive thing in that regard. So mentorship plays a huge role in leadership. So what impact do you believe your mentorship has had personally on council members fostering growth and development? I know you touched a little bit on this before, but if you want to elaborate.
So yeah, I consider all of us, but myself specifically, I'm a talent scout. And I'm one of the things that I loved about being on the line, and actually even still and before, was visiting different chapters at the time, networks, to you folks that don't know that we were chapters, and listening to the local talent. It was amazing to me how much talent we had all over the country, and I kept those in mind every time that I saw somebody. I remember a gal. I was in Texas, and the I was at their I guess incoming local presidents uh orientation, I think it was. And there was this one gal. She came up to me and she said, gosh, I would love to be teaching at Leadership Academy. By the way, Leadership Academy is your 360, just in case
Hmm.
people don't know that. So, that was another thing I got to tell you. We put Leadership Academy together. This was not my presidency, but this was in 1998. We put Leadership Academy together in May. It was approved in May, and we had the very first Leadership Academy up and going and award winning in 1998.
Wow,
So yeah, so that's
that's
how
impressive.
we move on a dime. That's Women's Council. We can make things happen. So you guys are all part of a fabulous associate organization. So I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I was talking about this gal, and she came over to me and she said, my goal is to be an instructor at the Leadership Academy. Well, I remember that. So she was a person that I mentored, as many. I kind of say that's what I do. And I'm very, very blunt and very honest and very passionate about our leadership and upcoming. But I will tell you, when somebody becomes a leader, or when I was not the leader any longer, I step back totally, because good leaders know when to leave, and it's like, I tell my local network, I'm here for you guys, but I never step in at all, unless I say, I'm here. You ask, I'm here. And many of them do ask, but it's okay with me if they don't. I just let them lead.
I love that. So we all know that leadership is not a straight path. There's a lot of, winds and twists, there's ups and there's downs. So what key lessons do you think current members can learn from you regarding both successes and setbacks that you've experienced during your leadership journey?
So always understand that just do the right thing. Be as courageous as you possibly can. And that, sometimes that's not easy, but doing the right thing and being courageous set your path and what and follow that path. Don't deviate if possible. Sometimes things happen. I actually became my Idaho State president, not Women's Council, the year after I was the national president of Women's Council. That was not in my plan, but I was asked to step up. And sometimes that happens because there was a need. Okay. And I just said to them, I said, here's the deal. I looked at my calendar, and always have your calendar set up, guys. When somebody asks me to do something, I look at my calendar and see if it's going to fit into my schedule. Thus, at the beginning of the year, you must have that calendar set up with everything possible that you could possibly be doing, meaning your family, birthdays, holidays, everything, not just your business. And of course, your spots for being a realtor. Well, which of course is what we do. So I looked at the calendar, and at that moment, the calendar for the board, I was able to make it work. But I said to them, okay, here's the deal. I will do this. But here, if you change a meeting and it is going to interfere with my women's council, you need to understand that is where I am. Women's council is that's where I am. So you always have to keep whatever your main position or whatever is, that's who you are committed to. And but make sure you let everyone else know that this is the way it goes. I don't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear anybody complaining that, oh, Gail didn't come, because you wanted me to do this. Now, not everybody, I'm not going to suggest that you do it the way I did it. I'm just saying that as you're going along with whatever it might be, just keep in mind where your commitment lies.
Yeah, I feel like accountability and transparency to those things and kind of having those, kind of guidelines and for yourself. People learn, you teach people the way to treat you. So I kind of feel like that, kind of goes hand in hand with that and how important it is because a lot of times, in volunteerism, we can be voluntold. And it's interesting that you said, hey, you went to the bathroom and then all of a sudden you're now the incoming president. And I recently heard that from Brenda Gabati. She shared with our network the same type of thing during a new member orientation. And it is kind of interesting that, it's fine to a degree, but then you also need to kind of make sure you're weighing in and kind of balancing everything else you have going on. So, looking back over your journey from local involvement to national leadership, what key lessons that would you give to current members that you can share from your experience?
So it's so interesting, and kind of right now, we've got some elections coming up, and the national line, and it's so intriguing how, number one, how it happens. That was not my goal when I first became a member in 1996, was to be the national president at all. But somebody tapped me on the shoulder in 1998. It was Doris Edwards, who is from your state. She was the national president that year. And we were at a regional conference we were in Seattle, Washington, as a matter of fact. And the second day of the conference, the hotel we were at was right across the street. You'll love this, from the flagship Nordstrom's.
Nice,
So
nice.
yes, and so we were going across the street at 7:30, I believe, in the morning. We had somebody from Nordstrom's that taught us all how to pack a bag for a week. And it was great. And I still do it today. It was the greatest lesson in the world. Anyway, then they opened up the store for us before anybody else came in. And it was just when the sale was starting. So I can picture this right now. And Doris came over to me. She taps me on the shoulder. And I didn't know that anybody even knew who I was. That's not true. At that point, I guess I did. But she said, Gail, they're talking about you at National. And I was like, what are you talking about? The seed that was planted, that that's 1998. So in 2006, I was the national president, but I no more thought of myself as moving up the line at all. I don't even want to say that quickly, but I don't think at all it wasn't there. So when somebody taps you, and then to the rest of you, tap people. So we've got two things going here. If
Right.
you see a star, if you see talent, then don't be afraid to offer that. Just say, gosh, you're good. Have you ever thought to? But she said that, and I'm like, huh? Well, the seed was planted. And then all of a sudden it was like, so when are you going to run? And I'm like, wait a minute, I am nowhere near, ready to do any of this. And it became I guess it was a process. It was a strategy, but it wasn't a strategy that I really put together myself, but it just was happening. And lo and behold, it did. So I guess my advice to you all is that if somebody compliments you, and you guys should be complimenting each other, but if somebody says something to you that, gosh, I see something in you, don't shy away from it. Let it grow, because you just never know. How's that one? Let it grow. You never know.
Right. I love it.
So,
No, but it's so true. And even at 360 last year, there were many people who were sharing the story about how someone saw something in them. They didn't see it for themselves. And it was once that moment happened for them, it kind of unlocked and triggered something in them. And then you never know how, that can kind of just continue to keep helping that person feel like, yes, I can absolutely do this. So it's that believing in each other is a great thing.
right, exactly.
So, our last question is any sage, so as we wrap up, anything you just want to add into this, any sage words of wisdom, kind of like if I knew then what I know now type of thing, don't sweat the small stuff or anything in between. Would you want to share with members?
So I'm going to share something that I share all the time. I've said this all the time, but the speed of the leader is the pace of the pack. So each and every one of you have your own strengths. Remember that. Nobody needs to be a Gail. Nobody needs to be a Lorianne. You need to be yourself, but be true to yourself. And I think authenticity and really caring about your members and putting them first, not not just in words. I mean, really and truly, what have I done for my members today? What have I, it's kind of like what we do in business. What have I done for my business today? But what have I, when you're in a leadership role, and let me just, I want to share this too. When you are in that leadership role, you are more committed than everybody else in the room. And that's a hard thing to know and to understand, because you're so gosh darn, oh my gosh, I want to get this done and I want to get that done. And you cannot understand, even if your president-elect isn't as excited as you're like, why not? Well, it's just the way it is. And understand that you're the leader. That's why you're the leader. You're the one that is going to put them forth, and you're gonna bring enthusiasm in your own way. By the way, I get accused of being a cheerleader. I was, and everybody's style of leadership is just fine. So in your own way, you're going to bring them to engage into everything, but do understand, until they get installed as the president, they're missing something. It's not their fault. It's just the way it is. So just remember, the buck stops here. When you're the president, the buck stops here. So anyway, you guys are awesome.
So it kind of segues nicely into, so our current president, Madam President Denora Gira, her kind of like mission statement, I guess you would say, for the year is be real, be you, be all in. And it just kind of ties back into authenticity. And I think that even in business, in life, in anything, people can scope that out. And when you're yourself, it really does kind of make the magic happen. So, and it does help your whole, kind of leadership growth within yourself personally, because people can identify that and people see who they can be naturally drawn to, and it really does help. Well,
Yeah.
Madam Past President Gail Hartnett, this has been an absolute pleasure at a Boise, Idaho. And I just wanted to point out to everyone that I got one of these little cards with a potato. And if you see, if people see you in May, at the legislative meetings, that you're going to have a ton of people scoping you, and trying to get one of these potato pins, I'm sure. But I'm looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. It was great to see you at President's Circle, and I just truly appreciate this opportunity and the fact that, like I said, I want to reiterate before that you are my first guest, so to speak, and the fact that you are the mom of the current national president, who is going to be coming to our elections in June. June of this year.
Yes.
So she's coming back to where she was born, which is so exciting. But looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks, and really do appreciate this opportunity to grow, not only help our leaders, but like this is actually, kind of something that interviewing people is like, is just an opportunity to grow within myself as well, and kind of moderate, and kind of, so it's more of these skills. It's all about the skills. It's all about the
Yeah. Lorianne, you're amazing. And thank you so much. Good luck to you for the rest of the year. And yes, I will look forward to seeing you and so many in admin year. Just a couple of weeks away,
I
guys.
know, it's crazy. Well, thank you so much again for your time today, and we truly appreciate all your pearls of wisdom and your little nuggets of gold.
Thanks, Lorianne. Have a great one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.